as we continue to digitalize, as we continue to embrace AI, it is important that as we harness the power of technology, we must also deploy technology in a responsible manner. Because at the end of the day, regardless of whether we are doing so as an individual enterprise or even at the government level, the end objective must be to improve lives.
Hello and welcome to episode 35 of the Exponential Show. We are here at day 2 of Money 2020 in Bangkok with Pei Ling, the co-president at MetaComp. Pei Ling, I understand it has been a crazy couple of days for you, so I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today.
No, pleasure is mine. And here at Money 2020, it's so bustling that it's very exciting to be in this vibe. My name is Pei Ling, and I'm co-president of MetaComp.
Fantastic. It's a pleasure having you here, and it's a pleasure having you here in Bangkok with us. So let's start with a question that we ask all our guests: is what's your superhero origin story? So what were the key career milestones that led you to what you're doing today? If you could just maybe give a quick rundown of that, please.
I have quite a diverse experience. I have the privilege to be able to dabble in different industries and different experiences, predominantly in private sector, but a bit of the more public-facing ones as well. So I started as a business consultant in Ernst & Young Advisory. Then along the way, I have been in a few technology companies, including Grab, and then, of course, financial institutions. And now I'm here at MetaComp doing Web 2.5 cross-border payments. And then in between, I was also CEO of Business China, a non-profit organization, uniquely Singapore. It is a Singapore entity, and our mission was to cultivate bilingual, bicultural talents and enterprises who will be able to, connect the world and China, and hopefully to strengthen Singapore's position as a connector. But basically, it is quite a diverse range, and because of that, I think I have the good fortune to be able to see things from different perspectives and appreciate the challenges, the opportunities, both at the more macro global level, but also within specific industries as well.
That's a fascinating journey, and could you maybe talk about in that journey? Obviously, like you mentioned, there's been private and public sector, but was there a tipping point that got you interested in finance itself?
Well, I think it's kind of serendipitous. So a few years ago, I came into contact with the payment services, specifically in the credit card space.
Okay.
And then, but over time, I have been, speaking with friends who have been very active in the on-chain finance.
Okay.
And so I think it's really a confluence of various factors. But what really got me into what I'm doing right now is that I met the founder CEO of MetaComp, and he was very passionate about this hybrid payments, basically connecting the traditional financial fiat world and the on-chain stablecoins especially.
Right.
And so at the heart of this is how can we deliver instantaneous, compliant and interoperable cross-border payment solutions to help enterprises, big or small, to settle faster and in a trusted manner, so that they can continue to grow and scale. So I thought that was a very exciting space, something that is both still growing and evolving, and to have that opportunity to build something that is meaningful. And so these got me pretty excited, and so here I am. Yeah.
That's fascinating to hear, and like you said, and this is a common theme among a lot of our guests, where they're not planned to be in a specific industry or a specific vertical, they sort of stumble their way into it. So yes. It's good to know how you found your way into finance as well. Now, speaking of MetaComp, so you mentioned you were already kind of pushing the envelope when it comes to bridging the gap between traditional fiat and stable coins. But recently, in fact, as recently as yesterday, you announced sort of branching or growing into agentic finance and sort of building an enablement layer around it. So could you tell us a bit about what went behind that strategic decision and what that looks like in practice?
Well, for MetaComp, we are a MAS licensed major payment institution. So under our license capability, we have digital payment tokens. So that allows us to deal with digital assets, as well as the traditional legal tender, which is the fiat. So we are able to do cross-border payments. So this has been ongoing. But as AI has become the buzz, and with the momentum being so immense, the development, it's amazing. So we were just talking about generative AI maybe 1 or 2 years ago, and it has been ongoing. And this year, suddenly, Agentic AI had a breakthrough. And so this is where we saw a great opportunity. We see that Agentic AI is able to transform the way products and services are delivered to the end user. We see that the whole customer experience can be transformed as well. Because the capability of that Agentic AI is that you no longer have to navigate multi-step portals. You don't have to go to where the service provider is, but from where you are, from your phone, from your prompt or your WhatsApp and Telegram, actually you can actually start to access these services. So it really transforms the whole customer experience. But of course, the compliance rigor, etc., cannot be compromised as well. So when we look at this space, we thought that this is going to be the next phase. And so building on the foundations that we have, we decided to go into agentic finance, and so we can expect the full suite of agentic payments and wealth services to be ready within this quarter.
Wow.
Now, but in addition to that, as we embrace agentic AI to deliver services and products to our clients in a very different form or manner, we want to do so. We want to deploy technology responsibly.
Of course.
And so when we think about agentic, where agents can autonomously act on our behalf, whether to negotiate contracts or to decide or make decisions on very material decisions, such as making a transaction, we need to make sure that the proper governance is in place. Yeah, and this is why we introduce the StableX Know Your Agent framework. Because in today's context, as more financial institutions embrace or adopt agentic AI, one of the key statistics that we have found through literature is that only 1 in 3 enterprises have some form of agentic AI governance framework in place. And out of that, based on to the best of our knowledge, that when we did an industry-wide scan, are pretty much focused on transactions itself.
Right.
So when we look at the entire ecosystem or the life cycle of an agent, we thought that there is an opportunity for us to come in to fill that white space. And so we wanted to make a contribution, obviously, to this, but there's also a real need for us as we go into that, right? So we saw the white space, we saw that opportunity, we came in. I guess it's also very timely that IMDA in Singapore introduced the Model Agentic AI Governance Framework, the world first, in January this year. And so we took reference from IMDA's framework, adopted the 4 governing principles, and then contextualized to build a KYA framework that is for regulated financial services. And so in this case, it's specific to this industry. So what is in this framework, right? Yeah, so this framework that we have introduced is organized across 4 pillars. And that would pretty much mirror the end-to-end life cycle. Yeah. So the first pillar is agent identity and registration.
Okay.
Yeah. So every agent, whether it's personal, enterprise, assistive, or full autonomy, needs to have a unique agent identity. So we will have to bind the agent with the identity of the owner. could be an individual, could be an enterprise. So we need to make sure that there is a unique agent identity and that it's registered with a registry. So for us, we're building that registry so that every time when there's a need to check back, we can check against the registry. So in this case, therefore, the agent is identifiable and verifiable. With that, then accountability can happen. So that's the first one. Second pillar is authority and permission. In essence, it's about the action scope. So we have the agent identified and being verifiable against the registry. That means we can check back. Then we need to determine, so after the who, then we need to determine what can the agent do. Yeah, what it can or cannot do, right? So it could be as simple as, okay, this agent can only do onboarding, or this agent can only do transaction. And what beyond what threshold can it not, proceed? And so in this case, what we want to make sure is that it's not just clearly defining what it can do, we also want to prevent it from overreaching. Right? Because it's autonomous in nature. Then the third pillar is about behavioral monitoring. Now, you have the agents being autonomously, able to act on your behalf, communicate and interact with another agent, perhaps to even be able to make decisions for you, so on and so forth, right? So we want to be able to monitor the behavior, the activities of the agent over time. In today's context, when a customer, tries to get services from the FI or any entities there, so you will have to open an account, and then you will have a risk rating that is attached to you. There's the initial risk rating. It might also evolve over time, but there's always a risk rating to you as a customer, to us as a customer. Similarly, we want to make sure that the agent will also have a risk rating attached to it. And we want to make sure that it's dynamic. Because whether it becomes a better agent or if it becomes a bit naughty, we want to be able to trace that, right? And have that indication. So that when counterparties interact or when a transaction happens, with that risk rating, hopefully it gives greater confidence to say, should we or should we not proceed? In that sense. So putting it in layman terms, right? So then for us at MetaComp, we want to leverage also our Vision X engine, which is our risk intelligence engine. Or put it simply, is our Web 2.5 AML CFT tool. So in this case, we want to use our engine to monitor the behavior of the agent, whether it has consistently been, acting within permissible bounds, so on and so forth, and then making sure that the risk rating is constantly updated. That's why dynamic, right? Yeah. So that's a third pillar. And then the fourth pillar is about the ecosystem and the overall governance. At the end of the day, there are many agents, within a setting. So there are multiple agents. They will have different behaviors. And we want to make sure that when an agent to agent interact or communicate, that they do not blindly do so without first making sure that permission is granted or that it is actually authorized. And therefore, this fourth pillar is to make sure that agents don't blindly interact with each other and that we set the rules for that. At the same time, we also applied the travel rule to this context. Now, in today's context, when we talk about travel rule for cross-border payments, in essence, in short, is to make sure that certain identifying information travels with that transaction so that if anything happens, it is traceable, it is auditable, it is accountable. You know who to go to ask for responsibility, right? So similarly, we are applying that rule to the agents. To make sure that if anything goes wrong, we are able to trace, we are able to audit, we are able to hold the ultimate owner accountable. So these are the four pillars. And then the governing principles would be number one, to assess and bound the risks. So you need to be able to assess upfront, identify, and therefore put in mitigation. Secondly, technical controls. So I think this is quite linked to the permissible scope as well.
I'm sure.
So, like for example, beyond what thresholds or what ratings will a transaction have to be halted, or the action has to be halted, or the agent has to cease and desist, for example. And then the third one is human accountability. In the end, although this is highly autonomous, machine to machine, but we want to make sure that humans are in the loop. That means human in the loop. So even if the agent has, done all the checks, let's say compliance, meet all the requirements, actually can onboard already, I want to make sure that there's still one human, the compliance officer, will have to give that final approval. To check again, give that final approval. Yeah, so that's an example. Fourth one is end user responsibility.
Okay.
Because of the identity, because of the registry, because of all the things that we put in place, that should anything, happen, that we can eventually find the ultimate owner to take responsibility. Yeah. So these are the four governing principles, overarching across the four pillars. Yeah. So for this one, I think we have this that we have introduced, but we are continuing to build on this. We see this framework, and we want this framework to continue to be open for adoption, for industry peers, for stakeholders to take a look at it, test it, adopt it, refine it, and then we'll keep iterating on it. But as we speak now, we are also still very actively working with our anchor partner, which is a multinational financial institution with a global network.
Wow.
To continue to work on this. Yeah, so we will be revealing it in time to come, but we are working closely with them to jointly develop and publish this. So what we have now is not the end point,
of course,
but I think it is a very good start, and that we hope that this contribution of ours will continue to grow and be useful to everyone in the industry, so that at least there is a common language that we can communicate with. And we have also been engaging regulators to get their feedback, to engage them, and hopefully they will also be keen to continue to be part of this with us. Take, for example, because we took reference from the IMDA's framework, we've also gone to IMDA directly to get their feedback.
That's
and
nice.
We've worked it in as well. Yeah, so I think this is an ongoing process, and we want to continue working with our anchor partner, with stakeholders, to make this something that is meaningful for everyone.
I'm sure, and as a consumer, obviously governance around agentic AI in general is a hot topic.
Yeah.
But in finance, you know this better than I do, it becomes even more important.
Yes.
And it sort of, as a consumer, it puts me at ease to know that there's people like yourself and your team behind the scenes working on sort of setting up some guardrails and the frameworks that you mentioned, both the governance frameworks and the four pillars that you've sort of adapted for finance. I think some of the elements are sort of treating agents as humans kind of elements, where you're sort of treating them as an entity, treating them sort of making sure there's a KYA, and so things that as a consumer I'm used to, plus setting guardrails for making sure that the technology doesn't autonomously make errors.
We do our best. In fact, just building on your point as well, is that current traditional financial frameworks, whether it's KYC, AML, CFT, so on and so forth, these are static, and it's meant for human world, the traditional human world. So it's static. But when agents are autonomous and they are machines basically, then we have to also have frameworks that really treat them as life, as identifiable and accountable agents.
Right.
And this is why this framework is unique in is unique in that sense as well.
Right. And it gives me a lot of hope, also the words that you mentioned, that it's going to continue to evolve because the whole agentic ecosystem, while it's growing rapidly, it's still very early days. So the technology will evolve, its implementations will evolve. So just the open-mindedness you presented in terms of how the frameworks will keep up with that evolution is very reassuring to hear as well. So thanks for that context. Now, there's one important thing that you mentioned. Obviously, you used the word interoperability earlier when you were discussing, and then you mentioned that you're working with an anchor partner to grow. So I imagine that for this entire ecosystem to succeed, there's a lot of stakeholders outside yourself that you would be relying on working with. And we're here in Thailand, so if you could just shed light on what type of sort of partners, ecosystem players would help you in your journey and you could help in their journey. So essentially, what type of people are you looking to support in Thailand?
Yeah. Well, for us, our ultimate beneficiary or the ultimate group of clients that we want to support would be SMEs, would be overseas venturing companies or exporters to the different regions in APAC, in Middle East Africa, in Latin America, so on and so forth. And so this is the group that we want to be able to serve and support. But in doing so, we are very happy and would love to work with partners, whether payment service providers, financial institutions, or platforms such as e-commerce. So basically like-minded stakeholders within the ecosystem, we want to work with everyone. So we need not be the one to directly go to the end target audience, but we will be happy to work with partners to see how we can provide our solutions or jointly, work together, leverage on each other's capabilities to serve them.
Well, that's very encouraging to hear, and especially here in Thailand. We were talking off camera where you mentioned that Thailand is pretty evolved and pretty rapidly growing when it comes to digital payments in general. So I think it's a great market for you to enter, and I'm hoping to see more of you on the ground.
I certainly look forward to that. With your help.
Of course, I mean I'll do everything I can, and I hope people listening, sort of also especially within the finance, SME space, payment space. I'm sure there are a lot of stakeholders in Thailand who would be very glad to partner with you. So I'm very optimistic about that. Now, if I may sort of take a hard tangent, is sort of you mentioned your work in the public sphere, and that's something that I recently got to know before we started this conversation. Is a cause that you are very passionate about is women empowerment and the things that you are doing on that front. So if you could maybe sort of take a step back from all the money talk and sort of tell us about sort of the other side of your story, if I may.
Okay. Well, I started as a volunteer when I was in university. And to me, it was eye-opening because I come into contact with different segments of the population and the society. And there are people who are concerned about their bread and butter. Right. There are others who have, concerns about, their other aspects of life. Mm-hmm. And so to me, it was an eye-opener. And that's how I first started. And as it went by, so when opportunity arose for me to take on a bigger challenge, a bigger responsibility, I thought that it was an opportunity not to be missed. So I was eventually fielded in 2011, and I have been serving since then. For me, there are a few causes that are, of course, close to my heart, but women is, of course, one of those causes that will always be relevant and something that, I think myself or my colleagues, would be very interested to continue to forward. Women form half, if not more than half, of the population dependent, right? And in Singapore's context, girls have seen huge progress, I would say. So from a, mortality rate, so from women's health point of view, childbirth, overall health has been improving tremendously. The overall education level has also been improving. At tertiary level, actually slightly more than half are females. And then when it comes to entering the workforce, it's about balance, but over the time of the work progression, you see more women exiting the workforce for caregiving responsibilities, but not so many come back after that. Or even as they try to come back, they face challenges. And so these are some of the things that we observe. And at the society level, women continues to be expected, whether it's self or by the society, are expected to play a greater role in caregiving. But women, given that they are much better educated, given the need for manpower in the workforce, but also with the caregiving responsibilities, it can be quite challenging for them to be able to play these multiple roles well. And so we feel that, or at least I feel that a lot can be done to empower. So one is to help create capacity, free them up from the various responsibilities. It doesn't mean that they no longer play those roles, but what kind of support can we put in place to free up capacity? Number two is to build capabilities. Whether it is to help the girls or women who are now, working or studying to be able to embrace future trends such as AI, or for those who want to come back again into the workforce, how can we help them navigate that return journey? Because there's confidence gap, there could be skills gap as well, because if they have exited for a while, there's that. And then at the same time, for homemakers, and sometimes they still want to continue to stay at home, but they want to also do some micro business so that there is a bit of income to supplement. How can we support them better? Whether it's through platform, networks, training, there are several things that we could do. And then, of course, third one is about breaking the ceiling. Freeing them from stereotypes or some sometimes could be systemic biases. How can we, break the ceiling so that for those who want to, can continue to excel and achieve greater heights. So broadly, I think these are the three parts that, I feel that we can continue to do more. But this is in Singapore's context. Right. I recognize that there are similar challenges in one form or another 100%. In other countries. And therefore is how can we, work together, whether it's within the same country or even cross-border, how can we work together to support girls and women development? And so I think this is something that is very worthwhile looking at. But for sure, for myself and my colleagues in Singapore, we'll continue to want to pay attention to this and to be future-oriented as well.
That's so good to hear. Like you said, this problem is not Singapore-specific. I've seen it here in Thailand. I've seen it growing up in India. So I've seen it within my own family. So it's definitely an international problem. And I'm glad that you are not just working towards solving some of these issues in your constituency, but also walking the talk, setting the right examples, is juggling so many hats as well.
You're very kind.
And here in Thailand as well, there's a lot of initiatives on that front. My wife, for example, is also my co-founder. She's a part of VCAN, which is a women's entrepreneurship group. So there's a lot of activity on that front happening here in Thailand as well, which is very encouraging to see. Thank you for sort of providing that side of your story.
No, I'm happy to. In fact, Thailand has got many things going for you.
100%.
Very vibrant market and also digitally savvy. I think some years ago, I saw this statistic that basically when we empower women digitally, we can close the gender gap more quickly.
I'm sure.
Yeah, because the digital fluency is something that can bridge some of that gender gap there. 100%. So, all the best, man.
Thank you, and right back at you. You are already sort of working on that, and I congratulate you on whatever ground you've covered so far, and I'm sure you're only getting started. So, once again, I really appreciate you taking the time. Before we sign off for today, if you could just give two messages. One to sort of finance SMEs, payment providers here in Thailand, and two to sort of women entrepreneurs, some of whom who have been on our show as well. So if you could just give two two separate parting messages before we end this episode, it would be.
Wow. Okay. I'll try. One is that I think as we move into as we continue to digitalize, as we continue to embrace AI, it is important that as we harness the power of technology, we must also deploy technology in a responsible manner. Because at the end of the day, regardless of whether we are doing so as an individual enterprise or even at the government level, the end objective must be to improve lives,
100%.
right? And so that is something that I feel is important. And I think this is probably the most important message that I would want to share.
Perfect. So that I think is I couldn't have thought of a better way to conclude our discussion.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks again for your time. You have a very successful rest of your trip, and we'll hopefully have more conversations on camera, off camera in the future.
I hope so too.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks to everybody who tuned in. If you liked the conversation, make sure to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you.